Warning, this video is probably going to piss off fans and haters of this book alike. I hope sincerely that you find some solace in each other. If you get to the end of this video and I haven't pissed you off, maybe consider subscribing because you may have found a kindred spirit. You've probably clicked on this video because you've seen the title, you've seen that Alchemized is in the title and it's a book that everyone is talking about at the moment, but maybe some of you have clicked on it anyway whilst not really knowing what it is. If that's the case, I'm going to give you some cliff notes. So Alchemized is a 100,000 word dark fantasy novel adapted from a Harry Potter fanfiction, Draco/Hermione fanfiction called Manacled. Manacled itself is a 200,000 word plus hostage romance drama lauded by, honestly, mostly female fans eager to badge their kinks as literary. Many of those fans, by the way, are TikTok evangelists who like to post videos of themselves online with smudged mascara and tears in their eyes and boast about how the book destroyed them. This cult-like fervor, as is often the case, is largely part of the point. The appeal of the story, as far as I can tell, is its perverse thrill, coercion, domination, humiliation, all while smuggling in enough pseudo-political intrigue that people can tell themselves it's high fantasy rather than a guilty pleasure. By the way, if that's you, I'm not judging you. I just think we should call a spade and all get on the same page. This video, by the way, ultimately comes down in your favor, so don't snap at me just yet. Some other context that you might want to know, this thing is a gigantic balls to the wall success. It's sold a bazillion copies. It already has a movie deal with Legendary for who knows how much, so it's going to be made a film. If you were on the internet, if you were on TikTok in September in 2005, you would not have been able to avoid seeing it, avoid hearing about it, so it is everywhere. Now, normally I would just let this sort of thing wash over me. I'd think it's not for me, it's not my genre, it's not my people. Let people have their fun and get on with it. But I have seen so many phenomenally bad takes about this book that honestly, it just pissed me off. And I felt like ranting about it on the internet. So today's video is 3 of the worst takes I've seen about Alchemized and why they're utter nonsense. Bad take number 1, its roots in fanfiction means that it infringes on copyrighted material and never should have been published in the first place. All right, let's get the legal stuff out of the way first. When we're talking about infringement on copyright, what we're usually talking about is something called substantial similarity, which this doesn't qualify as. For a start, Manacled itself is an original plot. It's set after the Harry Potter books. Yes, it uses the lore, the characters, the setting of Harry Potter, but the plot itself is its own. What Alchemized does is strips away the lore, the characters, the setting, and all that is left then is the inspiration. And inspiration is no crime. If inspiration were a crime, we could say goodbye to basically all of Shakespeare's plays, but let's just say Romeo and Juliet for now, based as it is on the tragical history of Romeus and Juliet. Chuck West Side Story in there because, you know, well, that's inspired by Romeo and Juliet. Get rid of Wide Sargasso Sea, one of the best novels of the 20th century, according to Times Magazine. That has to go as well because that's an imagined prequel to Jane Eyre. Bye to Ulysses, bye to The Hours, farewell to 10 Things I Hate About You, Wicked, Bridget Jones's Diary. Apocalypse Now has to go because that's inspired by Heart of Darkness. Taxi Driver is almost certainly inspired by Catcher in the Rye. You don't get Matrix without The Ghost in the Shell. There's no Inception without Paprika, probably. And you know what? Let's just get rid of all of Tarantino because his entire filmography is rooted in homage and illusion. And let's just go one step further than that and say that every piece of art has at its genesis multiple sources of inspiration, some more concrete than others. We've never been in the business of policing that inspiration, and we shouldn't start now. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as you should be concerned, Alchemized is legally, morally, and conceptually in the clear. Bad take number 2, Alchemized helps enrich J.K. Rowling, and so we shouldn't support it / we should shame people that do. I don't think anyone would be shocked to hear that we live in an age of moral puritanism and performative outrage. It is nauseating, I think, for anyone of sound mind and body, but whether we live in a golden age of such things or whether it's simply something that is being amplified by social media and algorithms that prioritize certainty and loudness over pausing for thought and nuance, I really don't know. By the way, if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, then I would invite you to consider that you might be part of the problem. So here's where I come down on this. Do all the boycotting you want, more power to you. don't read things, if you don't like them, or if you don't like the people that make them, that is fine. Where I draw the line is where you start getting on other people who do want to enjoy these things. And also the idea that Alchemized, successful though it obviously is going to have any meaningful impact on the sales of Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling's bank account is just patently absurd. I broke it down a bit, I crunched some numbers, and this is what would have to happen in order for that to actually be the case. So you'd need someone who's never read Harry Potter, already quite rare, who's either never heard of it or decided it wasn't for them. Then, after reading Alchemized, a book with no names, lore, or setting in common, they would need to be so moved that they'd then turn to a decades-old children's series that once inspired the fanfiction that this was loosely based on. If there were more than 100 such people in the world, I would happily eat a copy of Order of the Phoenix. So no, suffice to say, I don't think this is going to translate into any meaningful sales to Harry Potter, and also mind your own bloody business. Alright, so you might think if you're a fan of Alchemized, great, this guy's on my side, we're going to be best buddies, but just hold your praise for a second because we haven't got to bad take number 3 yet. And bad take number 3 comes from the fact that I made a TikTok video about this, and all of the comments went something like, it's beautifully written, it's a masterpiece, and bad take number 3 is unfortunately that. So I read about 100 pages of Alchemized. I didn't want anyone to accuse me of blind judgment. And I will say, the prose are perfectly serviceable. They're functional, they flow well, the grammar holds, even, I dare say, good. But that's where it stops. To say that it's beautifully written, I would say, is to over-egg the pudding somewhat. The truth is that any fanfiction with competently strung together sentences gets accused of being beautifully written because the bar for what is good in the fanfiction world is somewhere buried deep beneath the earth's crust. You know, when your baseline is unreadable Drarry sludge on Wattpad, then any sufficiently strung together sentence starts to read a bit like Nabokov. No, the real force behind Alchemized, just as it was with Manacled, is its kink. Coercion, domination, humiliation, that Stockholm Syndrome swing, that's the real dark fantasy, all wrapped in the guise of like high political drama. Its themes, bodily autonomy, aftershocks of war, trauma, it's really all just window dressing. They're a moral fig leaf that allows the reader to enjoy and bask in its fantasy whilst insisting on its sincerity. Now look, I know. It hurts to hear this, I understand, because you're not supposed to like this stuff, but you do. And not in an incognito tab open sort of way, although maybe for some people, but in a more psychological sense. The thrill of the taboo, the rush of the loss of control, it doesn't make you bad or strange to like that stuff, it makes you human. There's nothing wrong with smut. Nothing at all, but there is something faintly embarrassing about pretending that it's Tolstoy. All right, so a final note. I love reading. I love people who read everything. I don't care what you read. I went into Waterstones the other day because this is a cultural moment. This book has been surrounding me. I went to see if it was in Waterstones, and it was. They had a big display, big cardboard display, a whole window taken up by it. There wasn't a book in. There were 2 books. I lied. There were 2 books in sight. One of them was in the window, and one of them was kind of left on the display, and it had like a crinkled dust jacket, so no one wanted it. But I bet you by the time their shopping hours finished for that day, both those books were gone as well. This is a massive success, and you know what? Anyone that gets people to read in large numbers, I'm all for. And so if you're one of those people that loved it, then I'm really happy for you. But it isn't a beautifully written masterpiece. It's smut in a nice dress. And for the people that didn't like it, or don't like it, or aren't interested in it, or are angry about it, and want to harp on other people for liking it, then to you, well, you know what? I actually have nothing to say to you. I'm now going to do what you should have done and just shut the hell up. Wattpad, then any sufficiently strung together sentence starts to read a bit like Nabokov. Oh, people are going to be so pissed off.
Yes. Well,